firefighters and military who have lost their lives in the line of duty.
Thank you. You may be seated. Has roll call been taken?
Yes.
Chief, I'll start with introductions.
Scott Sutter, Chief of Police.
Don Grice, DPW Director.
Tessa Sweeney, City Clerk.
Brett Dick, City Councilor.
Brenda Simon, City Councilor.
Elizabeth Armstrong, City Councilor.
Danielle Kusan, Mayor. Ellen Glass, City Manager. Heather McCready, City Councilor.
Ray Colbert, City Councilor.
And I wanted to excuse Ken Howard. She's out of town for personal reasons. We have no public hearings or special presentations today. First item is consent agenda. There's one item, the Saddlebrook Farms Block Party Event application. We are moving that to discussion item, and it'll be the first discussion item we have. With that, we have our meeting minutes from May 13th, homecoming parade application, the resolution approving the MDOT contract, the resolution establishing request for funding for the Category B program. Is everyone fine keeping those on the consent agenda? Hearing and seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to adopt the consent agenda.
Next item on the agenda, we did have correspondence in our packet from, sorry, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next is the correspondence from the Fenton and Linden Chamber of Commerce. And next we are on public comment. For public comment, we are asking anyone who wants to address council during the public comment. They have 3 minutes, and we're asking everyone to fill out a public comment card. And we only have public comment at this time. At the beginning of the meeting, I do have 3 cards if anyone else wishes to make a public comment. Please fill out a card and give that to our clerk. I will call Monica Lerner.
I'm Monica Larner. I live at 152 West Rolston Road, Linden, Michigan. And my comment tonight is at the May 13th meeting, I kind of take offense to the comment about West Rolston Road. It just needs to suck it up and just, get busy and pay whatever is, being presented. And, that person doesn't have a horse in the race. Because she paid special assessment, or everybody's paid special assessment right along, that doesn't mean that I'm sheep and I follow along. And, it's just getting way blown out of proportion. The resolution or the state of Michigan things, it looks a little bit skewed toward the $250,000 coming off from the city side, and then we're going to be left with the other. The website still shows, that $60,000 is going to be my special assessment. I'm pretty sure, the other people didn't pay $60,000. That's it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm here about the speed on Hickory Street. I've seen a lot more people going, I think because the sun was out, the speeds have kind of increased. But also when you come down and do this curve here, it's kind of dangerous with everyone putting their kayaks in. And they're stopped here and it blinds people coming around the other way from, I don't know, is that Main Street? Coming down this road. I know it changes names. So maybe there has to be a way to make sure that no one gets hurt right there. There's a lot of people passing over Hickory Street from the funeral home over to the water, or they park their cars to unload, and then you got people coming from Main Street to come over this way, and it's just a disaster waiting to happen. This weekend, we had the kayaks out and everyone here, and it was amazing, amazing. I mean, the music, the atmosphere, the kids, couldn't ask for better. Great weekend. And a lot of people were really involved in it. So I thank everybody involved in it. The last thing is, the comments today is a good place to have them. There's not much on the agenda. But still, I'd like to see where you have, you discuss things, then we can, figure out if there's something we'd like to talk about at the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kelly's in.
I just have a quick question about, Ellen said at the last meeting that there was some discussions at the mill committees. And I looked online, I couldn't find any other meeting dates for the mill. I'm just wondering if there's any future dates that the public can attend, because she had said she didn't see why the public couldn't attend those meetings. And are there past meeting minutes from the previous meetings that you've had?
Thank you. So no other public comments. Move to our new business. And we have the purchase of emergency standby generators for Byram Lake and Rolston Road sewer lift stations. You were done.
Evening, Council. Before you tonight is a memo requesting approval for the purchase of 2 standby emergency generators for 2 of our 4 locations. As is mentioned in the memo here, sewer lift stations are a critical part of our infrastructure, and in order for them to operate on demand, they have to have a 24/7 electricity available. So one of the issues we currently have is if we have, especially in those cases where we have citywide outages, our staff are forced to take the 1 trailer generator that we have and basically run from one station to the other, hoping that we can stay ahead of reaching high levels. So prior to my start here, I know this was something that council was interested in getting installed. It's been a long process. The design process took a while. And then the first time we went out to bid, we only received 1 bid back, and it was extremely high. So we went back in, modified the specifications slightly, went back out to bid, and unfortunately this time, at least we had 3, and the low bid this time around was significantly lower than our initial go at it. So you have the 3 bids before you tonight, and we're just asking for approval on the low bid for, these 2 will be for Byram Lake and Rolston, which are the 2 highest demand stations that we currently have in our infrastructure.
Brad?
You said you modified the specs?
We did.
What did we take out?
Well, we relocated originally, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Byram Lake station, but it's way down by the lake. And originally we had the generator up near the roadway, just so it'd be easier for us to service. And what we did, so is rather than put it out there, and because we had it going over top of a ditch, we had to do some special work in order to accommodate that, thicker pad, that sort of thing. So what we ended up doing is modifying it, moving it down basically next to the station and running the gas line down through to it rather than keeping it on the road edge. Other than that, Rolston remained the same.
Anything else, Brad?
No, just want to make sure you didn't lessen the requirements for it.
No.
Brenda?
I just assume that everything's the same, right? There's a huge gap between 188 and 310, but the delivery is the same, right?
They're all
Do we know what makes such a huge gap?
Well, it depends on how busy a contractor is. A lot of times if they have
Oh, true.
a full plate, they'll throw a number at something, and if you'll take it, you'll get on the list kind of thing. But no, they all bid on the same project.
Okay.
And some contractors just have higher operating costs than others, so I think that's what you're
Okay,
seeing.
so we're not gonna do without what we've been asking for?
No,
matter who we go
no.
with? Okay,
No, they'll have to meet all the specs.
thank you.
Elizabeth?
I do not.
Heather?
This price is for both, not each, correct?
That's for both, correct?
Okay.
Right.
No further questions?
And I did not have any questions either. Is there a motion to award the installation of standby generators at Byram Lake and Rolston Road sewer lift stations to Comprehensive Contracting LLC in the amount of $188,700?
I'll make that motion.
Support. That's a good roll call, please. And we have Dick,
Yes.
McDermott, Armstrong,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Colbert,
Yes.
and Kusani. Yes. Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is the Saddlebrook Farms Block Party Event application.
In your, well, Tessa actually printed them out and provided it today, but in your packet was the event application with the comments from our DPW and department heads, some police. But also as of today, we got an updated email wanting to move the event and then discuss the concerns and explain how to address those for the emergency vehicle passing. But I think the applicant's here and maybe could speak to that specifically, so.
Can we both come up there, is that?
That's fine.
So we moved it to the July 27th date, just for a timeline to be able to get it approved through you guys to get the street closure, since it was closer to that original date. So we're trying to have a block party for Saddlebrook Farms, and if you can see on the map, it's just blocking off right in front of my house and the person across the street from me on Ridgewood, which is one of our lower traffic streets in the area. And I know one of the concerns that I've been working with Kristen on is emergency vehicles getting through. So we had a discussion and I emailed her about, a lot of the stuff is gonna be set up on the left side and the street's wide enough that they will be able to still get through. And then there's streets on either side and everybody on the street can get to their house. It's just blocked between myself and the person across the street. So I just wanted to clarify that, because I know that was a question. And then I did email Kristen a liability packet from our HOA. But I know that there was an email regarding a liability certificate. I couldn't find that document on the website, so if there's a specific document that I need to fill out, and I could receive it, that would be really helpful, and I can get that filled out quickly.
Did you guys have any other?
No, I think Chief and Don had some concerns in regards to the specific application.
And like I said, and I know you've been talking with Kristen, that's cool. And yeah, I just need to be able to, just something might happen at your house and the other house as well, so I need to be able to get a fire truck or a police car through there. And if you're keeping everything like the tables and et cetera on one side, that should do. But the liability insurance, as far as the certificate, I believe the insurance company would provide that.
Okay, if that's the case, that's fine then too. I emailed a packet with all the liability, but I'll work with the HOA to get the specific certificate that's needed.
Don, anything to add?
Yeah, the one thing, if I'm not mistaken, it looked like it was basically a 24-hour closure. So
We just had that as a time range, for setup and takedown. So yeah, that's what we were planning for. If we need a shorter closure, I'm open to that as well.
Well, the reason, one of the requirements when you close a road is you have to close it down with what's called type 3 barricades.
Okay.
And in order to accomplish that, you're probably gonna have to reach out to one of the barricade companies like Spartan or give them a break. There's a few you can find online. And they'll provide you with those.
So are you saying we need like the larger barricades, not like the signage barricades?
No, you have to have the type 3 because they have a certain amount of surface area and reflectivity. And you have to meet those standards in order to do it. They're typically, I don't know if you've been here a year, maybe you've seen some of the parades or road closures that we hold here. And it's those large, inconvenient to use barricades, but it's the requirement.
Okay. So it would be my job to reach out and get that through the company?
Correct.
And then reach back out to you guys?
Yeah, just to let us know that you did indeed make arrangements for them.
Okay.
Brenda, any questions?
Nope, sounds like fun.
Yeah, I mean, we just moved to Linden a year ago, so we're trying to kind of get the block party back and plan it with some neighbors. I know we're in the discussion items section, so is this going to be pushed off to get approval till the next meeting? Or are we looking to see if we can get approval before that, since we have a timeline with when the party is scheduled?
I think the recommendation would be that it would go to the next meeting if you can provide all those additional items and satisfy like the concerns with the barricades and things like that, so.
Okay.
Elizabeth, any questions? My only question was regarding the time, as Don had asked about the 24-hour period. And really, not that you're thinking you're gonna have this long of a party, but
No.
just.
Right, I think the whole idea is we were just trying to do something small to get our neighbors together. We didn't realize that it was gonna be this big ordeal, to be honest with you. And so I think we're a little in over our head on it. So we're honestly not even sure if we're gonna be able to do it, just because there's only a limited budget. And it sounds like some of this stuff could be pretty costly. The thing is, you know, we've only been there for about a year, but they've helped us before, and nobody made any mention of all these different things that we had to do. So that's why this is all kind of news to us, going through this process. So we'll definitely have to kind of go back to the drawing board. So I'm not sure if we'll really be able to do it at this point. So
When is the next meeting scheduled?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Okay.
So I think the minute that you do a road closure is when it gets a little bit difficult and stuff. And so I can't speak to the previous application necessarily, because I don't have it in front of me and I can't remember. I feel like it was during COVID, it was when they did it before, but we could certainly pull that application and stuff too. But
Yeah, that would be really helpful to know, because they made it sound like it was a little bit more simple than it has been. But yeah, we can look into those other things and see what we can do. So,
Okay, thank you. Heather, any comments?
I remember them doing it, but I don't really remember any details. Maybe it was just in somebody's yard?
I think they did do a street closure. From what I've been told, there was a street closure that was approved.
Unfortunately, it's a city street though, and there's a liability to it.
Oh, well, I
you know.
completely understand, and I think it was on Haystack, is the street that it was on prior.
was it a previous street?
Ray?
So the intent is not to hold it through the night?
No, and I can shorten the time range. I honestly we did a larger time range because we wanted to be covered on both ends for setup and take down, but I'm happy to shorten that time range. But no, like, we're starting at around like 3 or 4 o'clock, and then everybody lives in that neighborhood, so I would assume people are heading out around 8 or 9.
Okay. My concern would be having it during the night, the noise and
Oh,
all
yeah,
that.
that's
That would be
something you're
my
definitely
concern.
keeping in mind.
Yeah, and there is a noise ordinance,
Mhm.
you know, so you get a vibe at it. So,
Could we, wouldn't want to visit by Chief Sutter in the middle of the night.
I'm sure these good folks would be good.
Brad, any questions? So thank you for bringing this forward. If you could just provide that additional information to Tessa or Kristen, who we've been working with, and then we can readdress it the next.
Yeah, and if we need to follow up with like a meeting or something, I think we can arrange that just to maybe satisfy some of the concerns and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is the Shiawassee River Water Trail Coalition MDNR grant, and David Lawson is going to present that.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, member of council, David Lawson, 401 Hickory Street, here in Linden, Michigan, 4451. There should be in your council packet a memo I provided to the city manager about a week ago, talking about a grant we received from the DNR. So let me kind of set the table for you, how this all came about. As you know, we are a state water trail designated by the Michigan DNR back in 2018. And we became a national water trail by the National Park Service.
Just waiting for you to talk.
Talk a little louder. And we became a national water trail by the U.S. Park Service in 2020. So since then, we've kind of grown our organization to become our very own 501c3. We've grown to about 34 organizations that represent local governments and nonprofits along the river from Holly to Chesapeake. And when we became a state water trail by the DNR, we've never received, neither our organization or the other 8 state water trails around the state, any type of financial support from the DNR. Currently, they don't even have a logo for state water trails, and we're working with their staff to try to create them as well. So we had an idea about a year ago, working with all 9 water trails in Michigan to insert funding into the DNR budget for water trail programming. We were successful in working with both State Senator John Cherry here from Genesee County and State Rep Julie Brixey out of Ingham County, because they chaired the DNR Appropriations Committee in the House and Senate respectively, and they put in $500,000 for the state water trail program. Which means each organization is able to access $50,000 over a 2-year period. So that began October 1st of 2023, and that funding ends in September of 2025. Now, for those of you who have worked with grants before at the state or federal level, it's a reimbursable grant for the organization itself. We have some financing, but we don't have enough to cover $50K as an outlay for projects that we would like to do. Because it's reimbursable, so which means we have to spend the money up front, submit the paperwork to the DNR, and then get reimbursed for that project cost, which takes about a month to 6 weeks to do. So we're thankful to have the funding for it. It's just we don't have the financial footing yet as we kind of grow our budget and our nonprofit status to handle this. So of the 9 water trails, only 1 or 2 of them probably have that footing, which would be the Clinton River Watershed, the Huron River Watershed Council, etc. The rest of our organizations are very small nonprofits scattered throughout the state. So we're asking if the city of Linden would act as our fiduciary for this grant from now until next September when the funds expire. And then we are working with the DNR and legislators about more long-term permanent funding for the state water trail program, because we expect 3 more rivers will be designated at the end of summer this year. And those should be the Cass River up in Frankenmuth, the Lower Grand River in Grand Rapids, and the Lower Rouge in Metro Detroit. So we'll have 13 state water trails hopefully by the end of summer. So I've outlined in the memo the information we gave to the legislators about what we would like to spend the funds on. And that's just a list to get started with. We are working with our member organizations to come up with a list of what kind of projects do we want to fund on the river itself. So, as you know, we have the high-5 water gauges that are on the river right now between Holly and Chesapeake, which gives us real-time data on the depth of the river, mainly for safety as people go into the river, if it's too high and too fast, or if it's too low and you've got to bottom out. We have other suggestions that have come into us. We definitely want to support the new launch site that's going to go in on Hogan Road. In Fenton Township is something that we've been working with, and we expect that our contribution to that project will be $5,000. We're working on removing a causeway in Caledonia Township in Shiawassee County. It's an impediment to paddling into the city of Corona and then into Owasso because it's owned by Michigan Brick. So it used to be an old railroad that then was used for truck traffic, and they no longer need it. But you can't get through that causeway even by trying to portage around it because of all the muck that is built up by it. So we've submitted a grant to the Secretary of Wind for about $30 grand for the engineering to remove the structure and open up the river for paddling purposes. We have interest in building raptor platforms along the Shiawassee River because if you've been on the river, there's been an increase in bald eagle sightings along the Shiawassee, which is very, very cool. And we've seen them here in Genesee County, believe it or not. So we would work with telephone companies to get a platform constructed. It has to be 300 feet away from humans, so we've got to be really particular where that's going to go within the watershed itself. We want to do more signage along the Shiawassee River, similar to what we have here up on Mill Pond, and replicate that all the way downstream to Chesapeake. So we have a lot of ideas. We'll be bringing it to our board on June 27th to kind of prioritize this fiscal year what we want to spend the funds on. So with the DNR, we can spend it all at once, or we can do a piecemeal approach, but we need to have it all spent, all 9 water trails, we gotta spend their $50K by next September to show the value of supporting state water trails. And then we hope to long-term approach the U.S. Congress for funding through the National Water Trail Program, because there's 35 national water trails across Michigan, across the country. 5 of those are in Michigan alone, believe it or not. So we've got a lot of work cut out for us, but the first step to see if the city of Linden would be our partner on this grant. So the idea would be we would get an invoice for a project, we would turn it over to you for payment, you pay the vendor, and then fill out the required payment reimbursement documentation with the DNR and submit that directly. And we've already had conversations with the DNR, and that's the approach that they would recommend that we take, is that you sign the MOU and fill out the SIGMA, which gets you into the grant database for the DNR, and then you would get the reimbursement, so you would be made whole at the end of the day. So it makes our life easier, that way we can spend the funds, and the water trail is officially located here in Linden at 211 Hickory Street for mailing purposes. So that's why I'm here tonight. So any questions that you may have, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Ellen, did you have anything from the staff?
No, other than this is, so what Dave's asking us to do is similar to what they've done with the LAF, or the phase 2 of the trailway. Fenton is acting as the fiduciary, but even though it spans across multiple jurisdictions and things like that. So it's ultimately similar to that. So I guess just for a point of reference, I guess.
That's a great context.
So,
Same thing.
one entity has to do the permitting, and be the one that fills out most of the required paperwork and things like that. So that'd be the similar, I guess, comparison. Yeah, but really nothing else. I just wanted him to, he had asked, we sat down and talked about it, and I said it was a perfect opportunity to come to the next meeting and talk to you guys about it. Give you guys some time to, do you have a deadline on this?
September 30th, 2025.
So they have some time to kind of absorb it and
Yes.
think about how they want, and then maybe act on it at the next meeting.
Well, we have some things that we do have an invoice from High Five for the gauges, so we've told them we're working with some of our municipal partners to be the fiduciary. They're like, okay, great, we'll keep the gauges turned on. So that's always fun, yes. Yeah.
Elizabeth, any questions? So the max would be 50,000 over until September 25.
Correct.
And how often do we expect, like it's one approval in order for the city to be able to do this for the contract, and then it's processing the payments and the paperwork?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, just for you to say, yes, we'll do this for you, and then we'll give you the invoices as we get them approved by our board, that this is how we want to proceed, and then we give you the invoice for payment, and then you receive the reimbursement directly from the DNR. We're trying to keep it as clean as possible, and this was the cleanest solution we could come up with.
All right, Heather?
My question's actually for Ellen. Are you and your staff good about doing this? Because you guys are going to take out the work.
I haven't talked to the staff yet. So, and I want obviously our attorney to take a look at it and stuff like that. So we have some discussions that need to be.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it as long as the people that are actually going to do it are fine with it. So that's what I would want to do.
Ray?
Who applies for the grant?
Currently, the grants are given to, at this point, the state water trail, so there's 9 organizations, 9 nonprofits around the state. With this particular grant for us, they're aware that we're approaching the city of Linden to be the fiduciary for this. So the city of Linden would fill out the MOU, the Memorandum of Understanding with the DNR, and then create a SIGMA account within the DNR's grant system.
Is your organization going to prepare the grant?
Oh, the grant's already there.
The grant is?
The grant's there. Yeah, we had it
Been
inserted.
approved by the DNR?
Yes, it's been approved by the Michigan legislature in the last fiscal year. So the money's there, the 500K is sitting there.
So the grant's been approved?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we lobbied to have the money inserted. Initially, we asked the DNR for support, but like, great idea, we don't know where to find the money. So we went to the legislative route and advocated, and they put the money into the DNR budget for us.
So we would just be the fiduciary?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Good to see you, Counselor.
Brad?
So the money is in the budget, the DNR's budget. You got a list of things you want to kind of you know, how much each is gonna cost, what's gonna cost you? Are the project, what I'm looking for is, you know, are the projects approved under the grant specifications?
The only limitation under the grant is we cannot use the funding for staffing. That is one thing we did not ask for, but that's what was, and that's what ended up in the final budget, and that's the only restriction that the 9 water trails face, which is not what we wanted, but we'll take it, because most water trails need somebody to staff this program, to talk about it, to make their pamphlets and so forth, and go out and be an ambassador for the program. So we can really use it, as you see on the screen, kind of anything we want to, and that's what was acceptable by the legislature.
Yeah, that's my main concern is we pay a bill and then we submit it, and, oh, this doesn't really fall under specifications of the grant.
We gave that list as a starting point, as potential things we could do. And I'm sure there's other things we're gonna think of. So for example, you know, you put in that wonderful kayak launch on the Mill Pond. Those things run about 40K, obviously. That's something we could fund down the road if we had that type of permanent funding for communities that would make sense. So.
My concerns have been voiced by Heather and Brad. I would like to add to Brad's comment. Will there be a verification process for you when you go forward? You want to do 2 or 3 of these things. Will you be verifying with the funding authority, the state that, the group that's funding this?
Yes.
Will you know that when you bring your information to Ellen, so that our team's not wrestling with it, just in case it doesn't?
We will do a vote of our board, which represents the representatives from the city of Linden.
Okay.
So we'll vote as a coalition what we want to prioritize.
Okay,
Some
good.
things we may not do because they're just too pie in the sky, but other things we know we have to do.
Okay, I just want to make sure
Hi-fi,
staff doesn't, I just want to make sure
Yes.
staff doesn't wrestle with it
Oh, no.
and get kicked back.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
and
I'd
we'll
like to-
coordinate with Ellen and her colleagues.
Okay, and I'd like to hear more about what your staff has to say.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time, consideration.
Thank you.
All right, next on our agenda for discussion item is the council meeting public comment section.
So this is something that, I think back in November, council voted to change how public comment was structured. And then in more recent meetings, you guys have discussed wanting to potentially amend that. So, and in the last meeting, it was brought up to potentially change it during that meeting, and then it was, you know, I think a couple expressed, you know, let's handle it at the next work session, so that's why it's on here. When the change, I think Tessa, I think it was November?
Yeah,
Was it roughly November?
I just pulled it, it was November 23 that we voted.
Okay. So really just wanted to bring it back to you for your guys' discussion and input as to how you would, you know, what you guys want to do with it, you know, so. And how you would like to see that moving forward.
I mean, I'm happy that we made it shorter, but obviously there's some concern that people don't really feel they're able to comment on the issues. I'm not really sure the best way to solve that. I'm not really for public comment after we voted on things, because I feel like that's not productive. If, you know, to just have it at the end, it's done, it's a done deal. If we were gonna do anything, it would be have it back to where we had it on before we vote on issues. That would be my comments.
I would agree with that. I think as issues appear on the agenda, we used to allow public hearing for that, and if we had answers to the questions, we gave them right away, you know. So I would suggest that was a good process. It seemed to move it along. It wasn't confusing. We didn't duplicate time and effort by having it at the end of the meeting, in the middle of the meeting, the beginning of the meeting. And I think if you do it topic by topic, about a particular topic, that's the time we should provide an answer. If we have it, if we don't have it, an answer, then I think we should take whatever time is needed to get back with people with an answer and publish that at our next meeting in the minutes or on our website. But I think we don't have a choice. We need to provide time for input to the public, and that's important for us to hear. But I agree with Heather, after an item is discussed, we voted on it, it's too late sometimes for that comment. So I think that change of going back to the way we used to do it, open it up for comment, give us on non-agenda items, give us an agenda item, have a public comment offered at the time the agenda item is discussed.
Thank you. Brad?
That's all that I was looking forward to go back to the way we were doing it. Reduce public comment, if 3 minutes from 5, that's fine. I'm even fine with if we, limit discussion on the items to, put a time limit on, individual discussion. Like a 3 minute, if you're commenting on an item that's coming up for vote, we put a time limit on that if need be. But I'd also like to see us, this is what Greg said, questions. Before we're going to discuss an item or vote on it, not every time do we give a synopsis of what we're voting in. Sometimes it would be, resolution, I'll offer Rolston Road. Okay. They might not know what that means. So if we just, a lot of times I'll attach a note that describes what we do. If we just say, hey, this is a resolution for Rolston Road, or we're voting on lift stations because we have a problem kind of thing. Just, if we introduce the item that we're doing.
And we've been doing that.
Sometimes we do a lot. Most of the time we don't do it all the time. That's what we should pay more attention to it.
Yeah, I thought we were only not doing it when we did discussion. We did.
Like I said, we do it most of the time. Sometimes this is once in a while we miss. So.
Okay. Brenda?
This is just prior process versus current process that we just implemented last November. Okay, I'm okay with the back to the old process.
Elizabeth?
I would like to see us go back to the old process. I was answering the questions as she can. Does seem to help out greatly. And even with getting the question repeated, because everybody's here that's asking the question, they know the answer, next on the list. But I do think it's very important that people are able to have the answers, the time to ask the questions, and feel that they're an active participant as well in the meetings.
So you're talking about the original public comment?
The way we went.
And
yes, originally, yes.
But I mean, I'm sorry, you're talking about the public comment about all items?
Where they, if it was on the agenda.
Then that's separate, then they have that comment.
Yes.
Yeah, so we had, when we were having some very long meetings and talked about changing, and I had met with and part of the small cities of Genesee County and had discussed a couple meetings with people there. We're one of the few communities that was doing multiple sets. My biggest concern with having, the problem I was seeing was that people would spout things out and then kind of ask for this back and forth, which isn't productive. I'm all about giving people their voice, and it just has to be done in an orderly fashion. That makes it better for our record keeping and for me keeping control of the meeting. Things shouldn't be just yelled out from the audience. People should get one turn to speak on a topic. And unfortunately, the way we have it now puts a lot of preparation on the residents. Because in order for the residents to be able to participate, they have to look ahead and read the agenda to see what we're discussing.
and, you know, we do that because that's what we're elected to do, but I think it's putting too much on the residents. I do think it's important to keep it limited to 3 minutes, but have a non-agenda public comment, and then on agenda items, but it will be, you know, limited to 3 minutes, and you get to talk once, and it's, do we want these comments before? I think it'd be helpful to have them before we have our council comments.
Yeah, because then
Yeah.
one of us has an
Okay.
answer to that.
Yeah, that's the way we used to do it.
Yeah.
You ask for public comment first, and then present it to the council for their discussion. But it gives us good input, and I don't think it was what was making our meetings long. And you control, you know, who is speaking, and, you know, I didn't notice people interrupting each other or big debates in the past. We've done this for years and years and got good input, and we need to encourage that. So let's try it.
Okay. Yeah, I would just like to, you know, and it's not going to be public council, you know.
Can't be.
Yeah.
Can't be public comments for the public to present, and there should not be debate back and forth, discussion back and forth. It's for us to listen to what people think.
And Ellen will answer if she has an answer. and
Ellen will answer.
We'll follow the
Does a
process.
good job of
If
that.
it's a agenda item, then Ellen or staff most likely is going to have the answer because
Yes.
we're talking about it, it's on the agenda.
Sure.
Yes, it may be something else that comes up, but the process that we've been doing with public comment, if Ellen has, you know, the answer right then, she can provide it during her
If she has
manager
it.
update, right? Yeah.
But that's the time to express it to the people, give them the information, if you have the answer. If you don't have it, or it takes more study, then we just need to explain that and get back with them in a timely fashion.
As long as that's the expectation, you know, we can definitely do that. I just don't want there to be the expectation that we're on the spot to answer the questions right then, but we can,
No, if you don't
and
know
we'll
the
communicate
answer,
that. I
you
don't
don't
have a
know
problem
the
ever
answer, you
communicating
don't know
that,
the
so,
answer.
yeah.
Well, especially during the general public comment, you have no idea what's going to be
Right.
asked. Right.
But most of those were answered, could be answered too.
And then I guess while we're addressing the public comment issue, it's something which will require another amendment of our council rules and procedures. One of the other things that I had mentioned at a previous meeting when we had a lot of people at the meeting, and I understand that sometimes it was standing room only and we're working on that, but it's not appropriate, and maybe we can address it here, to have people behind the council. Do they agree? No.
No.
You know, it had come up, and if that's something that we need to set, I've said it at a meeting, we haven't had as many people at future meetings, but I want to make it very clear and no one think that it is not appropriate, you know, people shouldn't be
Right. We should
standing
not be
behind
up here behind the council.
council on either side, or, you know, I don't think anyone's going to go stand behind Scott.
You might.
So just for logistics, so what would happen is we would make the amendments, and they would be at the next council meeting, so which would be June, for you guys to vote on, but it wouldn't be implemented until technically July, so.
Right.
So this wouldn't be in, you know, this wouldn't go into effect until the July meeting if it was voted on, so just how.
Good. Great. I think we're all in consensus.
Any further discussion on that?
No other questions?
All right, we are on to manager's update.
So just a few things, and I'll try to, again, I'll try to recap some of the comment here. Get parts too, okay. This, Denise, the speed on Tickner, I guess I'll have to defer to Chief on that, and we might have to just follow up on that.
Well, if I can answer that.
Oh, yes, yes.
So there's not a speeding problem, there's a people problem there.
Amen.
And so, I mean, that's good for our city. And so I think I'll have the officers, especially with the kayakers, I mean, I understand they have to drop off. I mean, they have a parking lot there. But if it gets too backed up, to have them move some of their cars, so,
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, when you get both sides of the
Right,
kayak and this side over here going,
right,
you can't see around and some kid's gonna run.
right,
That's my nightmare,
right.
especially bikes.
So, yeah, so again, if there's kayaks, I mean, cars backing up, putting in the mill pond, we'll have them move. Okay?
And then, Monica, just for clarification, it was regarding a comment that was made, was that by another resident that made that comment?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you were saying. And as far as the special assessment and the website, we do have some work to update that, but it doesn't anywhere say anything in regards to a $30,000 or $60,000 assessment. So do you know where that's showing up?
Well, if you do the math, the original bid at 1.8, and then divided in half, and then the 30 parcels are listed right there. So all you do is do the math.
Okay, and I guess to that point, we've tried really hard to explain that we would assess Shiawassee Shores parcel proportionately. And I think we communicated that at previous meetings and stuff. So, and I think we, right from the beginning, tried to be very clear as to, you know, that would happen. There would be an equitable assessment for Shiawassee Shores versus the other parcels. And so Shiawassee Shores is bearing a majority of that assessment, and the other homeowners and the other property owners on that road are being assessed accordingly, and we did communicate that a couple meetings ago. But we will update the website. It's tough. We have information that's coming constantly and stuff like that, and we know that we are not perfect with, you know, making sure that every page of the website is updated, but we will work on that, so, and get that updated. But at no point did we ever communicate that it was $60,000, so and we'll make sure to put that and I guess clarify that even more. Were you at the meeting when we talked about each of the assessments?
Right, and you said it was very preliminary, don't take it to the bank, you know.
Correct.
It was, you know, very.
Yep. Yep, and that was the 6,000 for the residents, and then I think we talked about the active commercial businesses, and then Shiawassee Shores at that meeting as well. So I just wanted to make sure, I was asking that question just to make sure that you were able to hear that, or I would have given you that information again. And so, yeah, at no point did we communicate that there was $60,000 assessment, so I'm not sure where that come from, but we'll make sure that that's clarified, you know.
That it's nowhere near that, right, Ellen?
Right.
It's nowhere near $30,000 or $60,000.
Yeah, so.
It's a lot less.
For property owners, or for the individual residential owners and stuff. So, in regards to that, so MDOT is now steering the process with this one a little bit because we have the $250,000 grant application that they just approved, you know, next steps. So, the $250,000 is coming off the top of the project. We communicated that, I think, as well, so it would be evenly split city side and then special assessment side. And so this application though, it was what, 3 years old?
Yes.
So the application that was submitted for Rolston Road was 3 years old. So we have very preliminary numbers for that project at the time, and that's why that grant, they're using those numbers from that original application. So we communicated, I think, that it was, you know, MDOT now has to, now that we've approved this resolution, it now moves into MDOT's hands to go through all of the bids that we've received, and then give us the all clear that we can finally award a bidder. And so we're hoping that that's going to come at the next, well, I'll say in the next month. I'm hoping. We're trying to push them as quickly as possible for that as well. So then that will help us to get, to take those very preliminary, very estimated individual numbers and make them realistic and stuff. So, so more to come on that. Did that capture most of what you had, Monica?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, yeah. And then, the mill committee meeting. So just a little bit of background on that, and I don't want to take a ton of time because I do have some other updates to give you guys, but the council had a mill committee, a mill advisory committee in place for years, long before I ever came to the city, and talk about how to accomplish the needs of the mill and things like that. So 2 years ago, the advisory committee made a recommendation to the city council to look at changing the use of the mill. And the council voted to do just that. I couldn't give you exact dates, but there were minutes reflecting that. The committees that we had reference the mill are always advisory committee. They're an advisory to the city council. So they're the ones just doing a lot of the legwork, and they're going to recommend to the council. So the decisions will still be made at the council level for anything like that that comes up with the mill. We don't have any dates for the mill meetings right now coming up because there hasn't been a significant amount of stuff that has been necessary. I think we had one a couple months ago to talk about project manager and then architectural renderings. And so now it's shifted from a mill advisory committee. That mill advisory committee dissolved once they made that recommendation to the city council. And then the new committee of the construction advisory committee was then formed. So that's what actually is in place. And so they'll be making recommendations to the city council, and all of those decisions will be made at the council level and stuff. So hopefully that answered that. And then in regards to any other updates I have a few. We do have, and I'm hoping at the next meeting, we can have our new DPW staff, Tim, and then our new police officer, and maybe even a deputy clerk to introduce to you guys at the next meeting. So we were able to fill those positions. We're still doing interviews for the deputy clerk position, and like I said, maybe possibly have introductions for them as well at the next meeting. We are in the process of preparing our next newsletter. We again do those quarterly. We give all the department heads an opportunity to put in their information about things that are upcoming or things that they need to get the word out on. Hickory Street, we did put that on the attorney and our building official to look into that, and the property was sold. It was sold to a family member. And so the permits and things like that did not follow. However, after a letter that was sent, they did go in and do the necessary repairs, just enough to keep it under the radar. But one of the things that we'll continue to do is anything, with the mowing and things like that, just like we always do. So stay tuned for more information. I did talk with Mike and Marty on that as well, but we'll continue to try to push that and make sure that they're in compliance. Because I know that's been a long-standing issue. And just for clarification purposes, last meeting on Common Ground. And I know this is a LOSI issue, but I guess wanted to take a minute to kind of clarify on Common Ground. So we unfortunately took it over from Chief. So it used to be Coffee at Cop. And it was a specific program to LOSI. And LOSI's mission is to serve, Genesee County residents 60 and over. And that was one of the programs that they had in place prior to the city being involved. And Chief had just been communicating with us that maybe it was a good opportunity for us to get involved. And also it was starting to kind of fizzle out with attendance and see how we could maybe revive it a little bit, I guess. So Common Ground is specific to LOSI. Now, that being said, I think we've communicated at previous meetings that anybody can come and attend, but that program is specific to LOSI, but it is an opportunity to come and hear and have a chance to talk with us. So I just wanted to clarify that wasn't something that we had, we had it at 9:30 in the morning because that's when the seniors, I guess felt like that was the best time, and the senior center at the time had set that up. So I just wanted, I guess, to clarify that because we did have some questions and some concerns at the last meeting that was brought up. Our Safe Routes to School project is moving forward. We're hopefully going to have that bid in the next month or so for a fall, technically a fall wedding. That's still a go. We do have a public hearing coming up July 1st for our planning commission to hear the final for the PUD for Forest Ridge. So that's, all the notices are going out for that. We just found that out today, so that's going to be coming up, like I said, July 1st for the planning commission. We did, I don't know if you guys remember, but we've always belonged to the Transportation Asset Committee for Genesee County, where we get part of the TIP funding, transportation funded for only major streets. And we have a TIP project for Broad Street next year. Well, after the last census, because of the numbers changing, they chunked off Fenton, Linden, takes in part of Livingston County as well, takes MTAs at the table, and then Livingston County's transportation, LETS, I think it is. That gives us an additional like $350,000 to $380,000 potentially of funding every other year. Now that being said, now that that money is available to us now in every other year, we're less likely to have a TIP application funded. It will be impacting our scoring on our normal TIP applications, right? So you guys did Bridge Street. I think that would have been the last one, and then we're gearing up for doing Broad Street, okay? But we were already funded with our TIP for Broad, from Bridge to Hickory, and Don, correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
But with this small urban round of funding, I was able to get approval to fund from Hickory to Ripley, or city limits, I guess. So we're going to actually be able to pair those two, just the way that this funding fell. We're actually going to be able to group those two together to be able to do the project complete from Bridge to city limits. So we're working through logistics with that. It's an MDOT project as well, so we're working on engineering now and then next year project. So, but that's a mill and resurface and stuff. And so, and just for clarification, like I said, major streets, those are the only roads that are eligible for that funding. So I wish it was for other roads as well. On Hickory, we had that gas line that was hit. It sounds like the locating company that actually was doing the locating is taking responsibility for that and the repairs and all of that kind of stuff. So I know that I had some questions on that. And then about a month ago, Kildy's office and some other senators and things like that put out a call for funding for appropriations. I did submit for the water project for the city's portion. So we'll wait and see what happens with that. I do know that it was recommended to the next steps for the House Appropriations Committee. That being said, I don't know if or when it would be approved or how much. So, and then I see Justin popped in the back, and I know you missed public comment, but I did. I
drove over 60 miles.
Yeah, I did have a note here. So we did have a call today, and I did get your call. So I just wanted to follow up on that. So APM Mosquito obviously does all of our spraying in the city, and we do it from time to time have residents that want to opt out. Unfortunately, when they opt out, the way that happens is they have to stop it within it's like a 50-foot radius or something like that. But then there's a calculation that they have to use for drift, so taking into consideration winds and all of that kind of stuff. So if you're the neighbor to one of those individuals that decided to opt out, sometimes that's a little frustrating and stuff. So we do have a call into APM to see if there's some other alternative for application for the neighbors and things like that. And then we do know that we did confirm with them, and they did confirm on their GIS that they did spray Pauling Pass, but there was a resident on
Andrea.
Can I
comment on this?
So I know.
It just-
I just wanted to acknowledge it because I seen you come in and I knew that you know, and I had planned to update council anyways, so I will get with you afterwards and I'll follow up with you. But we do have a call in with APM. They are working on potential alternatives, and so I'll keep you guys posted. So
Anything else, though?
I think that's
That
it.
was a lot.
That was a lot. So I think that's it for right now. So.
Any counselor questions for,
No, thank you, Albert.
The only kind of we is when you get that answer from APM, let me know, because I have 2 people on my street that have opted out now, so APM is going to try to find me and start on the next block.
Okay. I guess I'd like to know, and maybe they do. Do they send us a list of the ones that have opted out, Tessa, or do they just? No, I don't. Okay.
The people have to go to them directly to
Right.
report it, so it's on their records.
Okay. All right.
Next is council comments, and I will start with Ray.
We did have a Sunlight Park and Rec board meeting, intensive conversation on the pathway and trail. We're working through a few issues. I think it was consensus of the board that we needed to get this thing done. And we had a pretty healthy discussion on that. It was some state issues that came up that we're dealing with, and some funding limits based on the bids we've received. So we pushed to have that resolved, and we gave the charge to our director to make sure we're doing everything to get this trailway going. It's been a long time. We've gone through some major issues that have been resolved. But like any project, other issues come up. So we are making sure as a board that they're being dealt with and put the pressure on to get it started. Everybody would like to walk on that pathway to ride their bike. So, Brenda, did you have anything to add to that?
You covered
Was that
things.
kind of a consensus of the meeting?
Yeah, we're working diligently. We want that path.
We were, that was basically 100% of me. So we had a lot of dialogue. The last FACT consortium meeting, we heard from the schools that all their equipment had been received. And our PEC coordinator provided a report that indicated that things are going well with all the schools. So we built some great relationships there, and I think our PEC coordinator is doing a great job for us. So more to follow the next time they need PEC hours. And that's it, Madam Mayor.
Brad?
Thanks for covering Saddlebrook Parks and Rec. That's all I have too.
Elizabeth? No, you're next. I go in order. Go ahead, Heather. I couldn't forget you.
We had, last Thursday, our second Parks and Rec fishing event. And started a little slow, but we had quite a few people out and kids having fun and caught some fish. And we kind of did a new thing if they caught fish, and then they could get their picture taken. We had ordered frames, like paper frames, but they got, so they got a frame with their picture with their fish. So that was kind of cool. And so then our next event is June 20th at 6. And that's one of our little Linden Explorer events. We're doing what we did last year with a scavenger hunt and a craft. And that one last year was our by far most popular event. The kids loved it. So that one's now at the one.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone who came out to help with the Memorial Day picnic. We had a good showing at the
parade, and then the service at the cemetery, and people coming in for a picnic. That was nice to see. Ray and Brad have been the grillers
Served
for
a lot of hot
years.
dogs, didn't we?
This past weekend, on Saturday, was the Laugh, Paddle, and Pedal, which was a very well-attended event. Dan and I did the pedaling, and then we came back and volunteered and was working at the check-in. And it was nice to see, you know, people coming in and asking questions, some people bringing their friends in to show their friends, hey, this is the pad, can you tell them about the pad, what do we have coming? And even the groups of volunteers were coming in. For one of the women working the table was coming in from Fowlerville, and a lot of good comments. I was also happy to see Joe Kimball was in town for it, and he was able to see the use of the gazebo that he helped to donate, and he also rode the 10 miles. So,
Wow.
yes, you're right, the sign was back up. So he was happy to see things around, and wants to get more involved with Black Pathway. We've had a lot of things. It's nice with the warmer weather. The car shows are back, the karaoke nights. This weekend, Friday and Saturday, the book sale is from 9 to 4. Anyone interested in helping set up, they are setting up Thursday starting at 6:30. They're going to be sorting those boxes there because they're going to be sorting the books here, and then they move them out. But again, that's a good way to support. Alpine, the issue with having things on the right up to the line where they're supposed to, when the planning commission had approved them to have kind of that bump out. They were not supposed to put things out for sale outside, and they are past that line. Right.
So we had one meeting scheduled with the owners 2 weeks ago, and they were unable to meet with us originally, and so we've been trying to schedule another meeting to go over that specific issue and the terms or the conditions of their approval for their application.
And then also we've got, obviously we had a lot of people biking, and people biked through town and on the path and then around. We have the area in kind of Taco Bell where the sidewalk is still, yes, Don's good.
I just signed an agreement to get that resolved. They told me it's probably 5-6 weeks out.
Okay, thank you.
Can we put some yellow paint on it in the town? Like,
Well, there's a cone there. The cone's been there for a while.
3 years.
And then at the event, I had some people approach me about different things we can do, share, ways to share information. I know with I was asked questions about the water, and then when I explain it to people, people understand, but maybe putting something out. I know there are things with respect to the special assessments that part of the website needs to be updated. But I think having the more information we can get to the public, the history, there's so much history that goes with things, and that we can put it there and maybe work on having like a fact sheet or one sheet of the history to have available, so if someone asks a question, it can be given to them, or pointed out, hey, that's on our website, here's this sheet, or they can even come to City Hall, here, let me print out this fact sheet regarding this. And then obviously you guys can address individual issues. Also, an idea of putting something else in the newsletter. Maybe an infrastructure update, a section in the newsletter to have. The one issue with the newsletter is I know just the lag in time from when it's printed, when you have to have it into print to when it goes out. But even if we had something as of, June 14th, I think that's the deadline, that's the deadline for this one. What's, the status of different things, you know, things that are coming up. We've got, obviously, Rolston Road, we've got the Linden project, we've got the water project. So people know what's going on. Again, trying to work on ways to find the, make sure we're being transparent. Small cities, we were out in Otter Lake, another good meeting, and then we'll be kind of on recess for a while. Last year I was approached about doing the 250-year marker in Linden through the Daughters of the American Revolution, which I'm a member. We didn't get everything together in previously, but there is a possibility of doing it now. Now, of course, we would have to assist with the funding or find a funding source. So I don't know if that's something that, and Ellen, you mentioned maybe I should talk to Historical Society about that.
Yeah, or, I mean, the Questers did dissolve and donate that funding. I mean, that might be something Dr. Karen Free's also be able to find out, utilizing that funding for, but just let us know if there's something that we can do or provide and we can try to work on that. Because I think it's been 2 years now for that.
For the Questers?
No, for the plaque that you were working on.
Oh, yeah, I don't remember, but I know that the goal is obviously to have them all in next year.
Okay.
And then lastly, we are having National Night Out. That's coming up on August 6th. So we'll have more information, and I'll probably be meeting with Chiefs and Ellen to further discuss anyone who wants to assist with that.
The flyer is out on our social media and I think our website, and then I think Kristen actually created an event specific to National Night Out, so, yeah, so we'll share information there too.
Okay. Thank you. Next on our agenda are financial reports. So our total bills for tonight are $176,420.96. Are there any questions on the bills? Hearing and seeing none, is there a motion to approve the bills? I make a motion to approve the bills.
Support.
Test quick roll call, please.
Hassan,
Yes.
Colbert,
Yes.
Simon,
Yes.
Dick,
Yes.
McDermott,
Yes.
and Armstrong.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item on our agenda is a closed session, so the meeting is over.